They including a gallery, or give them a call, 803-948-8327. Michael and Nathan at Integrated Media.
Halftime show. Welcome in. Tyler Head, Terry Ford along with you on your Monday afternoon now. And it is a victory Monday as we are continuing to celebrate South Carolina winning another women's basketball national championship, 87-75 over Iowa yesterday. And Terry, the matchup that I think the entire college basketball world was hoping would happen to close out the season.
Well, we have a pretty good idea don't want to like it. I mean, maybe they will. That's the matchup that South Carolina wanted.
Oh, for sure.
Let's just be honest. That's what they wanted.
That is one of those classic things where you put that on like the bulletin board on March or April 1st of last year, the day after the game, and saying, this is our goal. We want to see them again next year. And once we saw the brackets, we knew the only way was going to be in the national championship, and lo and behold, it happened.
And honestly, look, we'll talk about a lot of things, about everything that happened. yesterday afternoon, and all the historic precedent set and what this means and what it's going to be moving forward and what it means now and all that stuff, because that's what you do in this moment.
Yeah.
You first of all, you enjoy the bleep out of it.
Sure. Oh, yeah. You. This is a dynasty, and Don Staley's going to be coaching for a long time, but you never, ever know in any sport when things come to an end. So enjoy all of this.
Squeeze every second of fun and whatever you want to take with it, get all you can, because don't ever take it for granted. That's always
right.
That's the number one thing. I remember as a young Terry Ford in 1983, a little teeny Terry Ford kid. Well, maybe not teeny, but I was a kid, and the Orioles won the World Series, 1983. And we're parades, parties, everything's going crazy. Orioles every year we're in the mix.
This is going to be life. For
Never
the next
stops.
However many years.
Everybody in the city of Baltimore, it was like, okay, death, taxes, Orioles competing to win the World Series. That was where our lives were.
Sure.
Guess what has not happened since 1983?
The Orioles winning the World Series.
Exactly. You don't. I mean, Aaron Rodgers talks about that in Green Bay. Won a Super Bowl early in his career.
Oh, for sure. They were at least going to get back to a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
that hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened. So you always savor them. I mean, even locally here, the run the baseball team had.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's like Omaha. Just get reservations.
Yeah.
It's been over a decade.
Back-to-back years. We're going to live here now.
Yes. We want to get a little place right outside, right near Lincoln, right between Lincoln and Omaha. Haven't been back in over a decade. You never take these things for granted. You never think, oh, this is just going to, you just don't know. Gino hasn't won one since 2016.
Well, we thought that train was never going to end.
Gino thought that train was never going to end. It's just, you enjoy them and you savor them, and you never go, they got more coming. You're not guaranteed.
Not at all.
Any of that. But the one thing, though, what made me the most happy for that basketball team yesterday was Raven Johnson.
Oh, what? You couldn't script it any better than that.
It was. It's like, look, we all watched that here last year. The Caitlin Clark disrespect to the hand. Yeah, go ahead, take that shot there, girl. You ain't going to make it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We're going to stay here in the paint. You're not making those shots. And Raven Johnson made in the offseason, or this season, how much it bothered her all offseason. Talked about maybe leaving basketball and all these other things because just emotionally how much it hit her.
She said she watched that game probably about 100 times since then. And
yeah.
I believe that.
And how much of a crushing loss it was, but especially like a Raven Johnson who, remember, let's just be honest, Iowa won that basketball game because they just stood 5 defenders in the paint and dared South Carolina to beat them from 3 and beat them from the perimeter.
Which that South Carolina team was not built to do that.
And they couldn't do it. This one, and we saw it again yesterday, they were built to do it. We said one thing all year. We might have got one thing right all year, and it was this. You can't beat them the way you beat them last year.
No.
Because they'll get you from 3. Powell, Johnson hit, 6 of the 8 threes, I think, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But Raven Johnson getting the assignment to chase Caitlin Clark all over the court, wanting that assignment, begging Dawn Staley, put me on her.
Yeah.
Put me on her. And what happened?
Oh, it's a beautiful redemption story.
It's a beautiful redemption story.
And
what, 1 of 7?
Yeah, I
believe.
Yeah, only 7 of Clark's 30 points came against Raven Johnson, and when you look at her stat line at the end of the day, she was 111 from the field, but she could care less about those numbers because she went out there and she did her job. And I brought this point up earlier. Watching that game on Friday night between UConn and Iowa, you saw the blueprint. Mm-hmm. Nika Mule was tasked with guarding Caitlin Clark in that game, and she did a phenomenal job in that first half. And fatigue and whatnot, Caitlin Clark finally started to find her groove in that second half. But just disrupt her. Wave your hands in her face if you have to. Just do something. Don't let her have a clean look from 30 feet out time and time again, because she's going to kill you with that. Yeah, so just disrupting her any way can throw her off, and that's what South Carolina and Raven Johnson were able to do yesterday. And,
Raven Johnson was so good against her, but South Carolina had multiple athletic defenders that could run at her for 40 minutes. And
yeah.
And Caitlin Clark in the post game looked like she ran a marathon. You ever seen the look of a face of these marathoners when they're finishing?
Oh, she was
when they
exhausted.
Get to the tape, the look of misery.
I mean, she's huffing and puffing in those last couple of minutes of the game, and that again goes back to South Carolina being so deep. 37 points off the bench yesterday for the Gamecocks.
How many Iowa score off the bench?
That'd be 0.
Yeah.
And we knew that going into the weekend that out of all 4 teams in the Final Four, Carolina was the only one with any kind of deep bench. UConn's was because of injury, but NC State and Iowa just didn't have a lot of reserves they could pull in and give serious minutes to. And we figured South Carolina was going to benefit from that. And, you had a nip and tuck first half against Iowa. And guess what? In the second half, you started to pull away in the fourth quarter because you were so deep.
Yeah, and look, Tessa Johnson off the bench, stepped up again, scoring 19. Again, Tahina Pau, big from 3. Malaysia Fawali's numbers didn't wow you, but just watching her play.
Well,
and the pace and the quickness. And by the way, you can't get in front of her, and she changes the game just by the way she plays when she comes off the bench. Does that make sense?
She's somebody you always have to account for.
Yes.
Which she may not light up the stat sheet, but she is taking focus away from the defense that's allowing other girls on your team to get open and to get their looks.
Because with Fawali, she plays at such a pace and such a quickness, and she has so much athleticism. When she decides to go to the rack, only person that's going to stop her is her.
Pretty much.
Unless she gets fouled. You're not getting in front of her and stopping her from getting the corner on you. She's that good and that athletic and that quick. And, and Dawn said it before the season, when they were in practice, she's generational talent. She's a generational talent. You see it.
For sure.
You watch it. And when she comes in the game, it's just she changes the game when she comes in. Now, again, sometimes she gets a little out of control. Sometimes she tries to do a little bit too much. But she comes in, the game changes.
Right.
And that's what she brings to the table. And you saw it again yesterday. She comes in. They got no answer for that. They just don't. And, just watching the freshmen, watching Raven Johnson, seeing Tahina Pau do what she was brought in to do. Camila Cardoza obviously putting up her numbers. And just the wave that came at them. And we talked about this for pretty much from the beginning of the season. This team was different. The pace they played at, they could beat you from the perimeter, they could beat you inside. Dawn had to get the scabs on them to guard. They didn't go. They're a really good defensive team. They still had shot blockers. They might not be to the level defensively of the past team, but offensively, this team could beat you in so many different ways. And they were still really good on defense. They still blocked shots. They still ripped down rebounds. They out-rebounded Iowa, I think, 1,410 to 22 yesterday.
Yeah, which we knew that was going to be the case.
Well, it was last year.
It was last year. Then they out-rebounded everyone, and I don't think Iowa won that game thinking they were going to win the rebounding battle. They were going to have to try and find other ways to beat them. And give credit to Iowa. That start that they had, getting out to the 10-0 lead, capped off by Caitlin Clark making a 3, which she didn't make in the entire first half of that game against UConn. We were all kind of probably looking at each other side-eyed like, wait a minute, this ain't good.
Well, it's funny. I had a couple buddies of mine text me about the game. They said, what I think. I said, look, I think South Carolina wins are just better unless Clark has one of those all-time heaters.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the other look, her supporting cast has to do something, but if Clark goes on one of those crazy binges, that could beat you. And then, when she had 18 at the end of the first quarter, my buddy texted me, goes, is this the kind of thing you're talking about with that heater? I said, yep. I said, but look, what South Carolina's only down 7. I said, look what Iowa just did. This is a ball game. They're not going to shoot like this the whole game. I go, if Iowa shoots like this the whole game, they can beat anybody.
Oh, yeah. Well,
they're not going to keep shooting like this.
Yeah, if you continue to shoot that high clip, I don't care how good of a defensive team you are.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I just said, look at the score. Yeah, you're right. She went for 18. They shot the lights out in the first quarter, but look at the score.
Do you know how many three-pointers she made from the second quarter on to the end of the game?
2 or 3?
It was 2.
Yeah.
Including getting shut out in the third quarter, I believe.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when Raven Johnson went to the bench and said, come on, I've been watching the tape. I know her moves. Come on, coach. Let me give this a shot. Change the whole game. It just changed the game.
Right.
And that's why sometimes if you just open up a box score, you get very deceived. Because if you look at a box score, Raven Johnson, whoa, she had a bad game. Oh, no, she didn't.
No.
Matter of fact, you could have given her MVP votes.
Think there's a very good case for that.
And how funny would it have been someone who went 1 for 11 from the floor wins most valuable player in the Final Four? But she did. She made Caitlin Clark work for everything. How about the steal? How nice was the steal?
Would you like to hear the steal?
Yes, I would love to hear the steal because the steal was funny. Is this our buddy Brad Muller on the steal?
It is.
Let's hear Brad Muller on the Raven Johnson pick of Caitlin Clark's pocket.
Hawkeyes can work for the final shot to take the lead into the locker room. But Raven Johnson steals it from Caitlin Clark. She will drive the length of the floor and lay it up and in. And the Gamecocks lead 49-46. Here's Stokey across midcourt to Caitlin Clark. Feeds it out left side. They're not going to get a shot off. The Gamecocks rally from an 11-point deficit and will take a 3-point lead into the locker room here in the national championship.
Fantastic.
I don't think it can be understated how important that was from a momentum standpoint because Iowa was getting set to potentially take the lead into the locker room. You take that, you take a 3-point lead in the locker room instead, and you come out with all that momentum to start the second half.
That was a conceivable 4 to 5 point swing there.
At least.
And that's how huge that play was. And then obviously, like you say, you go in the locker room, you look for any way to pull momentum.
Right.
Any way to pull momentum in a game of this magnitude. And you pulled momentum there at the end. What if Caitlin Clark bangs a 30-footer there at the buzzer?
Then that, yeah. Momentum in their side, they would have had a 2-point lead.
They would have had a lead, 2-point lead. And instead, Raven Johnson gets the steal, picks Clark's pocket, goes down, layup, boom, you're up 3. They couldn't even get a shot off.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And she's played so well. And I was really happy for her after what she went through last year and all she heard in the offseason after what happened last year. And I was happy for all of them, but especially Raven Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's almost movie-esque.
Yes.
With, the moment you were doubted the most and people counted you out and you come back a year later and redeem yourself and you have the national championship. Like, it's a Hollywood ending.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
It really is.
And we'll talk a ton about the Hollywood ending. We'll come back here from Dawn Staley and her thoughts on her 3rd national championship. That's coming up next. Oh, by the way, today, Coach Kingston will be with Jay like he typically is on the postgame show. Coach Kingston at 4:15 with Jay today on the postgame show to talk about the weekend against Texas A&M where the Gamecocks lose 2 out of 3. Did salvage Game 3 on Sunday. We'll get back in here. Let's hear from the Grand Poobah herself, some cuts from Dawn Staley and her thoughts on winning her 3rd national championship. That's next halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on a national championship Monday on the Game.
Rebound caroms out to Fuliley, and the Gamecocks have it. The lead is still 8 to Tessa Johnson, left wing. 3-ball, bang! Tessa Johnson with another 3. And the freshman pushes the lead out to 11 at 68-57. Tessa Johnson with 15 points with 1:06 to play in the third quarter, and another timeout taken by Lisa Bluter of Iowa to stop the bleeding.
There was some bleeding there in the second half for Iowa in the South Carolina victory to win national championship number 3 since 2017 for Dawn Staley. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head on a national championship Monday here on The Game. And if you're hanging out with us here in Columbia, we appreciate you. Florence, Myrtle Beach, hope you're enjoying basking in the glow of another national championship. Dawn Staley talked after the game. First, Tyler, let's grab about being emotional, because she was. I mean, they win it. I think Chloe Kitts was the first one to get to her on the sideline, I believe, of the players.
Yeah. Give her a hug before they went through the handshake line. And she was crying. Aaliyah Boston was crying. Everybody was crying.
Yeah, I mean, and it was really, look, it was cool that Aaliyah Boston got to be part of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she won a national championship a few years ago. I get it. But that gut punch last year to that senior class before they were moving out the door was felt through the whole program.
And Raven Johnson gave her net to Aaliyah Boston saying, this is for y'all. Like, again, y'all laid the foundation. Because that was before the last season of the freshman season, that was their goal. We're going to go undefeated and we're going to win the national championship. And they got 99% of the way there and just ran into Caitlin Clark and Iowa and came up short. And that made that so crushing because you could taste it. You had your fingertips on it and weren't able to get there. And you obviously felt really good about rematching with LSU in the national championship if you get that opportunity. So to be able to accomplish what they set out to accomplish in a year where nobody thought you were going to be able to do that, I can understand the emotions running high.
Oh, absolutely. And here's Dawn. Dawn talking about being emotional after the game. Cut 7, Tyler.
Well, it was emotional for me because of how it ended last year. And I'll leave that there. And I was emotional at the beginning of the game because I didn't want what happened last year to happen this year. So I was handling things in real time, not afterwards. And I'm going to move to handling things in real time and not having to wait until there's an ending that shouldn't be. So I was like that throughout the entire season, but for this one, I wasn't going to allow what I felt happened to us last year to happen this year. So I had a little bit of PTSD, and I addressed it in real time. I mean, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. You carry the burden of, every single one of your players, all the coaches and staff members that put so much into our team. And, it's heavy load to be undefeated, to, finish the job. And you get emotional because you just want that for them, and you're happy that you're able to, because only one team wins a national championship. And when you win a national championship, there's more trust that's built that you could take into the summer workouts and the postseason workouts in the fall and then into another season. There are so many conversations you have with parents, with any significant person in our players' lives that the rigors of a season, you just have to face that music with them. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's just a really hard conversation. And then once you win, this is the reason why I like, and it builds trust amongst everybody that's involved in our players' lives. And then I'm just super happy for our staff. Like, they work really hard. They are incredible, basketball. Like, I think they're savants. I think they are always looking for ways in which to get our players better in a way that they can handle it, not the way that we see it. And because the way we see it is probably very difficult. The way we would handle it would be difficult for them to actually learn and apply and execute in a basketball sense. So we're able to just kind of speak their vernacular and then actually deliver. So, I mean, all of that makes it emotional for me.
A couple things there. One, look, it's everybody's, we talk about this all the time on the show. Everybody is great when things are going your way, right? You win, you keep winning, you keep winning, you keep winning, you keep winning. Everybody's in a good mood. All the jokes are funny. Everything's, always positive, positive, positive. Everybody's, can do their Dr. Phil, motivational speeches. And everybody goes, wow, that's really deep and wow, insightful. Everyone can do that when you're winning.
Sure.
What do you do when you lose? What do you do when you get kicked? What do you do when, in front of the whole world, you lose a game nobody thought you were going to lose? And it happened with a group of players that meant a ton. And they left in that fashion. And you as a program are stunned in that fashion. What do? Do you let it knock you backwards where you're never the same again? Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah.
Or do you take your punch, you take your 24-hour rule, you scream, you cuss, you yell, you cry, whatever you do, you're insightful, you're introspective, you pick whatever. And then how do you clean yourself up and keep going? This is how you do it. You go undefeated, losing 5 starters, and taking players from last year's team who stepped up as starters and stepped up in their roles. You get some very talented freshmen, and you go across the country and snag a transfer that can help fix your biggest weakness. And you learn from your weakness, and you learn what you got to do the next year, right?
Right.
Whether it's Dawn Staley saying, I got to get more perimeter firepower, or Raven Johnson, I'm going to lock myself in a gym every day. Give me that shot next year.
Right.
Give me those shots next year.
Yep.
And how many big threes did Raven Johnson hit this year? There were a handful.
There were
gigantic in games.
It was a part of her game that she developed along with her teammates, which again, this team as a whole got a whole lot better with that. When you bring in Pow, you get Tessa Johnson coming as a true freshman. And again, it really just felt like, and we talked about the entire season, long before we knew these teams were going to play, like you're equipped to beat a team like that,
right,
should it come down to it. And lo and behold, it did. And again, it was a kind of a perfect cap to a very historic season in women's college basketball, and you had the best player, one of the best players we're ever going to remember in this game, going up against the best team in South Carolina.
Yeah, I guess I always give props to the teams who get up off the deck, who get to take that shot, that gut wrencher, that no one thought you were going to lose because you were so good and you got beat. Now
right.
What do you do? What do you do? How do you get up off the deck? Can you get yourself back to that point? And then when you get back to that point, what are you going to do now? Right. And we saw, first of all, going undefeated is unbelievable. There's only 5 programs that have ever done it. UConn's done it, I feel like 100 times.
Yes, they were 6 of the 9 coming in.
Yeah, but then you've got South Carolina, you got Tennessee, you got Baylor.
And Texas.
Yep. And so that's it. You're in very high air by doing what you did. And you did it again with 5 new starters.
Yep.
5 new starters on this basketball team.
Yep.
And none of the core transferred. Everybody came back, give it another whirl. Freshmen accepted their roles. You're bouncing back and forth with Watkins and Kit starting at the 4, and everybody had a singular focus. And that was to get back where you were last year and finish the job. And they did, to their credit, and to Dawn Staley's credit. And, that's the thing about great coaches. I always love watching great coaches and see if they evolve. See if they understand, okay, I've been playing one way for a long time. I've got to evolve. And Dawn Staley said, we got to be able to shoot threes. We've got to be able to hurt you from the perimeter to where if you want to give us that shot, we're going to make you pay. And that's what they did. And Dawn evolved. Dawn, the way she treated this team, Tyler, evolved. You hear someone like Asia Wilson, they get cell phones now?
Yeah.
Seriously?
You had us.
Wait a minute,
you had
Coach.
us crawling under barbed wire at practice, and now they're allowed to be on their phones and play with balloons.
We're
What is
outside
this?
eating bugs. Oh my God!
It's very reminiscent from when you have like people that are like strict parents, and then their children have kids, and they become grandparents, and suddenly they're like soft and super nice. Like my grandparents always had like candy and sodas and all that kind of stuff at their house, and my mom was always like, "Where the hell was this when I was a kid?"
Oh, sure.
You never let us have any candy. Why do my kids get to have candy?
No, my dad, Dean Ford, he after I grew up and moved out, he got a dog. Okay, this dog would go outside, come back in the house. True story. Jump up on a chair. My dad would go get a paper towel, wet a paper towel. You know what he'd do?
What?
Wipe the dog's butt.
Wow.
I remember the first time I saw it, I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, well, you know, this or that, and the dog got to get clean. And I said, "You never did that for me. Where was mine? Where was that for me?"
I think it's a good time to go to break.
But that's my point. The dog got treated better than me. Where was all this when I was a kid? Mr. Tough Guy? Now you're wiping a dog's butt.
Do we need some therapy, Terry?
Yes. I got to go to break and get therapy. All right, we'll come back. Here's some more from Dawn talking about the significance of this championship. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Hood on a championship Monday right here on The Game.
She means a lot to me. I feel like since the first day I got to South Carolina, she's been working so hard to get me ready and prepare for moments like this. And I'm just so thankful to have her as a coach. She's like an inspiration for me and a lot of young girls out there. And I'm just so thankful to have her as a coach. She's the best business, you already know.
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head and Terry Ford along with you. Racked into a national championship for the Gamecock women. That was Camila Cardoso talking a little bit about what Coach Staley has meant to her and her time here in the program, as yesterday was her final game, scored another double-double, and she'll be off to be a top 5 pick in next week's WNBA draft. Yes, that is a very quick turnaround.
You know, yes, it's really straight. That's just the way the WNBA calendar goes. Yeah, it is a little weird. You know, she won most valuable player, most outstanding player in the Final Four.
Sure.
And there were some people talking about should Caitlin Clark have won it because, well, she's Caitlin Clark and she wins every award.
It's like when LeBron lost the finals, people are like, should he still have been MVP?
Here's my thing on that. There's only been one Super Bowl MVP from a losing team ever.
Right.
Chuck Howley in Super Bowl V for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And that was a weird Super Bowl. And that's why he was the MVP. It was such a weird Super Bowl. You could have given the MVP to the kicker, Jim O'Brien, who kicked the game-winning field goal. It was just a bizarre game.
Right.
But typically to me, unless what you did was massively outstanding, the most outstanding player should come from the championship team.
If Caitlin Clark scored all 75 points for Iowa yesterday in a losing effort, then
That's
yes, we can give her the award.
Here's why, again, I'm not saying this because we're sitting in Columbia, South Carolina. I would have said this anywhere. She scored 31 points on, I believe, 28 shots.
Yes, 30 on 28.
30 on 28. She was not efficient. She was not effective after the first quarter. Raven Johnson, for the most part, and other perimeter defenders wore her down. So, no, she should not be the most valuable player of the Final Four because her performance after the first quarter was not valuable.
No.
Not to be mean, but I'm just being honest.
Yeah, so essentially Caitlin Clark had 3 really good quarters consecutively. That second half against UConn, she finally caught fire, started making her threes in the first quarter against South Carolina. But the other, so doing my math here in my head here, the other...
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 out of 8 quarters, she was not Caitlin Clark.
Quarters, she was not Caitlin Clark.
So why are we giving her the Outstanding Player Award? Because she's Caitlin Clark?
Right, and the name has a lot of pull, sure, but at the end of the day,
no,
she didn't do enough.
No, Camila Cardoso was fantastic against NC State. She got hurt. Remember how good she was in the first half against NC State?
I mean, she took over the game prior to her going out with the ankle thing.
Carried South Carolina. Remember, that game was close. She carried South Carolina. Then she got hurt.
Did she score 12 straight points?
I believe.
I think so.
And then she had the double-double yesterday. She's the most outstanding player in the Final Four. Sorry. Sure. That's just the way that goes. All right, let's grab a call real quick, 803-404-6100. Thomas has been holding on patiently. Thomas, we appreciate you calling the halftime show in the game. What's up, my man?
And nothing much. To first say congrats to our Lady Gamecocks. And, during the season, everybody was wondering if this was going to stay together. Because, you had all these young ladies who were stars coming out of high school. But I watched an interview that told me what I needed to know. When they did an interview with Bree Hall's parents and Chloe Kitt's parents on the recruitment process to come here, Bree Hall parents were saying that how Kentucky was recruiting her hard and telling her, hey, come here to Kentucky. You could be the next star after Ryan Howard leaves. And I think her mom wanted her to go to Kentucky to keep her close to home. But Bree Hall said, I could go there and be a star, but nobody around me and I go nowhere. Or I could go there to South Carolina where I'm going to go somewhere. And when all these young ladies talk about how close they were, to me, that was some leadership in there to keep everybody in check, everybody's egos managed, and this is what happens.
Absolutely. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Great story. Thank you. Yeah, it's just culture matters, man. Whenever I hear someone say, oh, culture, or there's that word culture, or culture doesn't matter, or culture is just a word, or what? No, it's not. It matters. Culture matters in everything in life. Culture matters in your family, your job. Culture matters in sports. Culture matters in life. And what Dawn Staley has done has built a culture, and you see it. And it started with that original crew that ended up in a 2017 national championship, and it continued on with Aaliyah Boston and that group. And you're seeing it again with this group. It means something to play for South Carolina. It matters to play for Dawn Staley. And yeah, this crew might be different than the others in how they act and the way they are, but it's still the same culture. That's what Dawn said. If you remember what we've played the cut a few times. We let them be them, but we just don't. We draw a line on the fundamental tenets of our program, our culture. But besides that, we let them be them.
Sure. What Dawn Staley's created at South Carolina is very reminiscent. I don't say that just because they're spokespeople for AFLAC, but very reminiscent to what Nick Saban had at Alabama, where it became the bar, the standard that every other program in the country compared itself to across your entire sport. And players want to go to your school to play for you because they know you're going to give them the best development. You know they're going to give you the best shot at going to the next level, and you're going to go there and win championships, which is exactly what they've been able to do here at South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally someone will transfer out, and occasionally there's a problem. They had one earlier this year that they had to deal with.
Sure.
But the culture of this program and the players, the lineage matters. Like Raven Johnson giving Aaliyah Boston the string of the net.
Yeah.
Because that's how much Aaliyah Boston mattered to Raven Johnson. Raven Johnson said, without you and that group, you guys taught me how to get here.
Yeah, their success set the table for what this season could be.
And the success of the Asia Wilson core set it for Aaliyah Boston and her guys, her crew.
Yes.
So it is a lineage. It continues down from here to here to here to here. And that's called culture. And the people that say culture doesn't matter, I shake my head because I don't it's not even about sports. I've said this all the time. Think about a job you like. It's got a good culture.
Sure.
Think about a job when you get to your work and you sit in the car and you stare at the door and go, oh, Mother of God, please don't let me go in there.
We've all been there.
That tells you about culture.
Yes.
Culture, and like anything. Do you like going to your family reunion? Do you like going to see your family? Or do you do it because you have to and your parents say you got to go?
Yeah.
Do they not want to go? They just know they've got to go.
Sure.
Are they whining in the car to each other when they're driving, going, we got to go, right? Yeah, we don't want to go because you know your sister's going to be drunk and your brother-in-law is going to be obnoxious, and then all of a sudden your mother goes crazy and starts crying. It's awful.
And then when they get back in the car, I told you.
Yeah. Oh, just like every year. That culture matters in everything in life. Successful culture matters, and right across the street is a hell of a culture.
That's right.
That Dawn Staley has built, to her credit. And Thomas, great call. We appreciate it. 803-404-6100. You can hit us up on our phone line or text line. We will have a text of the hour coming up next, so feel free to jump in. Also, we'll get back to Dawn Staley, the significance of this championship for Dawn. That's coming up. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Hill on a National Championship Day edition of the Halftime Show on the Game. All right, time to get our Firehouse sub text the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
Yeah, nameless texter weighs in and says, Don Staley is basically a four-peat natty winner at USC in my eyes. It's a reach, but it's the way I feel, all things since 2020 considered.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the way you want to think.
That's fine.
The record books will show 3, but
that's okay.
You can make a great case, as many do, that 2020 team likely would have won the national championship too, and they were at the top of the AP when that season abruptly ended. So we don't count that one, but if you want to add that one to your trophy case, you can. And hey, 4 could be coming next year for all we know.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Which again is why savor this. Enjoy. Go to the parade, buy the merch, all that stuff. Just soak it in as much as you can.
Go over to CLA today at 2 o'clock, or go now and see the replay of the game.
And then the team's going to come in later. They're going to have a celebration. It's going to be great.
Yeah, enjoy. And the parade, by the way, Saturday, 3 o'clock. So it'll be Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Now, I believe it's going to be right here.
Yeah, right here.
Well, the lot, if you're watching on the Game TV sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, you can see where I'm pointing. It's going to be in our vicinity. See, I had just moved.
You just pulled a J, by the way. It's over there.
Here's the thing. I had just moved here 2 years ago when they won the national championship. So, I didn't see any of the parade or didn't witness any of it. So that'll be like a first experience for me.
You'll dig it. It was during the week a couple years ago.
That's probably why I missed it.
Yeah, it was during the week. It was cool. It really was. It was obviously the streets were packed, and we had, at that time we had our Hummer. Our station vehicle was a Hummer.
I've seen the pictures.
Yes. By the way, it had become probably not very safe to drive. So we got a cool truck now. So, we'll have the truck in the parade, and our sister stations, KISS and B, will be in, and other folks in the Midlands will have their vehicles or floats in a parade. It's very cool. The women obviously will be in it, and Dawn, and
sure.
and enjoy it. Seriously, I mean, just go soak it up and enjoy it Saturday, because you just don't know when you're going to see one of these again. You hope you see many more, but there's never a guarantee. So always treat it like it could be the last.
And South Carolina has assumed that throne of being the top program in college basketball, women's college basketball. But again, you look at Gino, and they were the last undefeated team 10 years ago to win the national championship. And as we talked about, we didn't think that their run of success was going to end.
Right.
And what they won the championship the year before Dawn Staley won her first one here.
That's the last one Gino had. Yep.
It's so funny how those things kind of transition. Like, all right, here's your last title. Here comes Dawn Staley's first one. And for all we know, Gino could win another one. But if he doesn't, then you look at that kind of as a pivotal moment of kind of like the changing of the guard.
Passing of the old baton.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you never know when that next program's going to come along. Don't forget about Kim Mulkey down at LSU. Already won one a season ago, and you just never know.
She's not done.
She's not done. Obviously Southern Cal, Texas, they're great programs out there. Stanford, plenty of great programs that are going to, go toe-to-toe with South Carolina, and you just can never be too sure.
All right, Dawn Staley, real quick, Tyler, let's pop this up. Dawn talking about what this championship meant to her, or the significance of this championship, cut 8.
Well, it means that we have quietly have done things, in my opinion, the right way. We find the right pieces to help us. We really do things the right way. We're very disciplined in how we approach basketball. I am one that I'm forever indebted to basketball, so I'm always going to take care of it. I'm always going to make sure that our players are respectful. I'm always going to make sure that they know the history of our game. I want to make sure they are always respectful to our opponents. And when you do it that way, in return, you have success. You have success in the wins column and very little, disappointment in the loss column. And I don't think that's talked about enough, what we've been able to do, and I don't know why. And I really don't care why. We're going to keep doing what we're doing the right way. Whether we are the popular or unpopular successful programs in the country. So we're going to keep doing that way.
What's interesting about this was all we heard about were stars, right?
Yeah.
in the women's game. And the women's game has gotten popular because of stars, because of Caitlin Clark, obviously head and shoulders above everyone else in star power. But then you had Angel Reese. There's like my youngest kid loved Angel Reese. That's why he was rooting against Iowa like the whole time because he was an Angel Reese fan.
Oh, yeah.
He was very happy when South Carolina won yesterday. You talk about Paige Beckers, who a lot of people thought was going to be who Caitlin Clark became when Beckers was a freshman, but she went through injuries. The ironic part of this, which just, again, drives people crazy, even in this day and time where, we talk about stars, you got to have stars here, stars there. Who won the national championship?
That'd be the team with, I don't want to say without stars, but without the national stars compared to the Clarks or the Reeses or stuff like that. Paige Beckers, as we've talked about this entire season, South Carolina is a sum of its parts. It is not one player consistently going out there and, Camila Cardoso isn't scoring 30 points every single night and grabbing 20 rebounds. That's not what this team is built on. Sometimes it's Tessa Johnson leading the team and scoring like yesterday. Sometimes it's Chloe Kitts going out there and having a double-double like she had yesterday. Sometimes it's Ashlyn Watkins getting 20 rebounds and swatting everything that moved against NC State on Friday night. This team is just built on so many great players that just interchange and move up and down and left and right and just complement each other so well.
You know who won? The best team.
That's right.
And I wanted the word team. The best team won the championship. Not the team with the best stars or the best NIL deals, the best commercials or the best smiles or the best whatever. The best team won.
Yeah.
And by the way, a collection of massively talented players sacrificing for the greater good of team.
Right.
Because a lot of these young ladies could go a lot of places and score 20-some a game.
Right.
Fulwiley could have started in a lot of places as a freshman and led her team in scoring. They all sacrificed for the good of the team.
Exactly.
And the best team cut down the nets.
That's right.
Old school, my friend.
Hey.
Just old school. Best team won.
And you know what? This team's still going to be pretty darn good next year.
Yeah, they got them all coming back except Cardozo.
That's right.
And they're adding the number 1 high school player in the country. All right, we will get back in here, and thank you for the texting again, 803-404-6100 on our Firehouse subtext of the hour. Football. We're going to kind of move that around a little bit today. How about just football, basketball, football, basketball, football in the 1 o'clock hour. It's coming up on the halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Hood on a national championship celebration Monday here on the game. Halftime show, national championship version. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game as we run up until 3. Again, celebration at CLA, 2 o'clock. Right now they're re-racking the national championship victory at CLA, so you can just go in and watch a game.
That's right.
And then be part of the welcome home celebration for the women's basketball team. The parade, Saturday, 3 p.m. That's what we know.
Yes.
So enjoy it all. Soak it in. Have fun. Celebrate a championship.
Squeeze every ounce of it out of it that you can.
Absolutely. Because you think there's going to be a lot more, and hopefully there will be, but you got yesterday.
That's
and
right.
That's what you got.
I'm constantly refreshing Twitter, seeing if we can get the ratings from last night. Because they got to be coming out sometime this afternoon. And my God, I didn't think, because last week, Iowa and LSU set the standard, 3.2 million viewers on a Monday night, which is a great night for TV viewing for anybody that keeps up with TV ratings and all that kind of stuff. Monday night, kind of have a captive audience. Reason why they play Monday Night Football, good numbers.
Right.
Friday nights at 9:30, not usually going to pop you big ratings.
Yeah.
They still beat it with Iowa and UConn.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, the thing, well, first of all, live sports numbers are across the board are up everywhere.
Yes.
The men's tournament is up. Major League Baseball's opening day was up. I mean, there's numbers everywhere are up in live sports viewing. Again, are they looking at the metrics? Are they adding all the different streaming platforms now so they get more of a correct measure? I don't know. But I just know this. A lot of people are watching live sports.
Oh, yeah.
And to see where the women went, especially the games that Caitlin Clark is playing in. Look, star power matters. Look, every sport is a niche sport except the NFL. We've established the fact on this show.
Yeah.
You want to cut through the clutter? Have a star. It's very simple. Or have stars.
Sure.
The one thing with the NBA, look, the NBA's ratings, depending on market, aren't bigger than Major League Baseball. There are places Major League Baseball has better numbers than the NBA. There are times that, it just goes back and forth.
Sure.
But the difference is, the perception is the NBA is so much more healthier than Major League Baseball, and here's why. Stars. And the NBA knows how to market stars. And they're a star-driven league. And they understand the value and magnetism of stars.
Mm-hmm.
Where Major League Baseball can't spell stars if you gave them the S, the T, the A, the R. They have them.
Well,
they have them everywhere. They just don't market them at all.
I think Bill put it perfectly. He said, if you brought Mike Trout in this room with 2 other people, I'd have a 33% chance of guessing which one was Mike Trout.
No doubt. I mean, if you put Mike Trout in regular clothes, because, he likes to chase storms.
Sure.
Mike Trout's hobby is hanging out with the people at the Weather Channel and chasing storms.
Sure.
If you put Mike Trout in regular clothes, like he just got back from chasing storms, you wouldn't know Mike Trout.
No.
I mean, baseball heads would know Mike Trout. Like, I'm a baseball dork. I know Mike Trout.
Sure. But the average person, for as good of a player as he's been
He's a Hall
for
of
a
Famer.
long time, out on that other team in Los Angeles that nobody cares about.
Because they're not really in Los Angeles.
No, they're not. They're in Anaheim.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that Ohtani got the welcome to Los Angeles treatment. Like, he's been right there the whole time.
It's like, well, that's not really Los Angeles.
It's not. They should have never changed the name from California to L.A.
No. Now, I call them the Disneyland Angels, but
That's a good way to
it's
put
just
it.
the idea that this guy's Mike Trout is a generational Hall of Fame talent that put up numbers that rival some of the greats of the history of the game of baseball.
Right.
And I agree with Gunner. If you put Mike Trout in a lineup with 5 other people who look something like Mike Trout, 8 out of 10 people couldn't pick out Mike Trout.
Probably not.
I mean, Ohtani's easy. He gets marketed everywhere. He's the most popular, might be the most popular athlete right now in the world.
Very
Or
strong chance. Yes.
One of them. So he's easy. But, again, a lot of Major League Baseball stars today, most people don't know who they are. Why? Major League Baseball doesn't really market them very well. The NBA understands the value of superstar and market the superstar. To be fair, the superstar in the NBA, touches the ball a lot more
Yeah.
than the superstar in baseball gets at bats. Or the quarterback in the NFL touches the ball and every play is on the field, and baseball doesn't have the same dynamic. But still, they don't market their stars.
Yeah, and basketball is very much a sport that benefits from you're not wearing helmets, you're not wearing hats. You get to see the face of the star better than any other sport. You know, and it's obviously the courts are small.
They affect the game more. There's only 5 people on the court.
Exactly. So they are more zeroed in and focused on where you can become more familiar with them. And, you know, you can name countless NBA players out of a lineup because you just see them so much and know what they look like in various instances and stuff like that. So basketball has that advantage to it where you get to know the stars a little bit more, both, you know, through their personalities as well as how they actually look. And I think, college sports are a little bit different because the NCAA is not necessarily the entity that's like pumping out the content to promote its stars, but ESPN, who has exclusive rights to pretty much all of women's basketball, specifically the tournament, has made it a point to market these stars, and they've done a good job with that, and you're seeing the ratings grow and grow and grow.
They've done a phenomenal job. I mean, look, like Caitlin Clark, don't like Caitlin Clark, whatever. Caitlin Clark is a star in women's basketball, and ESPN and the machine was very smart in marketing Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
And Caitlin Clark's star has brought eyeballs to TVs. It just has. Now, the job moving forward is to take advantage of this if you're women's basketball and find your next group of stars.
Right.
You can carry your momentum of Caitlin Clark. And you know what? Embrace the heck out of her in the WNBA. I know there's some WNBA players who aren't digging this, but guess what? She's bringing eyeballs. She is bringing eyeballs.
And I'm legitimately interested to see what that does for the WNBA because we've seen so many great women's basketball players that have gone on to the WNBA, and people just, you know, not that they don't care, but they don't make it a point to tune in, and a lot of people don't know when the season is and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, when you have somebody that's as polarizing as Caitlin Clark, though, who, again, in literally a week's time is going to be drafted #1 overall in the, in the draft, I do think it's going to pull a lot of eyes in. And maybe you're not going to sit there and watch every single game, but if you know that Caitlin Clark is playing, I watch that game. I check it out.
Let's get Dawn Staley talking about Caitlin Clark real good. Cut 6, Dawn thanking Clark for what she did for women's basketball. Hit that, Tyler.
See, they are a formidable opponent that took everything that we had to win the basketball game, but just don't want to not utilize this opportunity to thank Caitlin for what she's done for women's basketball. Like, her shoulders were heavy and getting a lot of eyeballs on our game. And sometimes, as a young person, it could be a bit much. But I thought she handled it with class, and I hope that every step of the ladder of success that she goes, she's able to elevate whatever room she's in. But I'm super excited and super excited to share this moment with our team. They are incredible human beings and young people who trusted, believed, figured out a way to help each other learn and grow and ultimately become champions.
I mean, again, like I say, there's a lot of, and it's not Caitlin Clark's fault. It's what the media does. You build up a story, it becomes a great story, it's wonderful, it's great, and then all of a sudden you get tired of the story, right? You just get tired of this person, and the media is constantly shining the light on this person because, well, they're very popular and they're polarizing and they bring viewers and they keep going with it. And before you know it, there's that backlash. And there's some Caitlin Clark backlash. It's low level, but it's there. There's some WNBA players that aren't very happy about some. Remember, they were talking about the 3-on-3 offer that she got.
Yep.
And there were some professional players who were upset about it. But that's all about business and marketing. This is the most marketable really basketball player outside of the NBA, right? Look, there's no men's college basketball player as marketable as Caitlin Clark.
Not at all.
And there's no women's basketball players marketable right now. And that was a pure by fact, that was a smart business move. Hey, you want to play the 3-on-3 tournament?
Yeah.
Get eyeballs.
And I'm thinking like the last men's basketball player that I would even consider similar would maybe be like Zion.
I was going to say Zion Williamson was the last time.
So dominant. He had such this aura before he even came into college, but that was only a one-year thing. Like Caitlin Clark has been in college for 4 years, and one of our callers, Ty, on my show earlier on this morning, brought up a really good point. Like, I think beating South Carolina did a lot to launch her into the stratosphere last year.
Sure.
Because people knew about her, and she was obviously playing well, and we know how many people watched that Final Four season ago, and to see her to go out there and drop 41 points on the best team and defending national champion, that elevated her to a whole different level where she rode that and obviously lost the national championship, but rode that into the next season and set a record in pretty much every single game this year, all leading up to another rematch with South Carolina.
And that probably did catapult her to another level. You had number 1 ranked, undefeated champion looking to go back-to-back, and you drop a 41 burger on him. Also, a bunch of assists, and you played out of your mind, and the whole world got to see it.
Yes.
And then ESPN, again, look, the marketing machine is great. I mean, you got this player who's putting up scary numbers, teams winning a lot of games, and she's very marketable. So you know what you're going to do? Market her.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened, and it's been great for women's basketball. Again, the ratings for Caitlin Clark games are through the roof.
Yeah.
3 and 4 times higher than a normal game in women's basketball.
And again, we don't know what the numbers for yesterday's game are, but if South Carolina ended up playing UConn, probably take a million or so viewers off of that.
Yeah, it would have been. The numbers would not be as high.
They'd
Caitlin
still be
Clark,
good.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be Caitlin Clark type numbers.
Sure.
And if you look at the numbers of the other games that Caitlin Clark isn't involved in, they're better than women's basketball ratings have ever been.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not to the Caitlin Clark level because, again, it's just people want to watch stars.
Sure.
They hear a name, they go, wow. I got buddies who have never watched a women's basketball game in their life until this year.
Yeah.
Because of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But here's the good news. Now they're learning about other players, and they might watch it more now, or at least watch it more than they did before, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what you're looking for now.
Well, that's the thing is the key to getting somebody interested in the sport is having a hook. Get whatever gets them in the door. That's your selling point. It's like, okay, well, you were interested in Caitlin Clark. Well, now she's gone, but look at all these other great players that you got to see over the course of the season to give you a reason to stick around.
Can we keep you?
Yeah.
Can we keep you?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, let's cut 25, Tyler. Caitlin Clark and what people will remember about her college career.
We truly have each other's back. Maybe we weren't always the most skilled. Maybe we weren't always the tallest. Maybe we weren't always the fastest, but we just believed. We knew we could be in these moments. We trusted one another. And that took, a couple years to get to that point. And, there's been so many great Iowa women's basketball players that come before us and, allow this program to be really, really good when, Kate and I and everybody else stepped on campus. And I feel like we took it to a whole nother level. And I feel like our program is in really good hands moving forward, and I think more than anything, people will probably remember our, 2 Final Fours and things like that, but people aren't going to remember every single win or every single loss. I think they're just going to, remember the moments that they shared at one of our games or watching on TV or, how excited their young daughter or son got about, watching women's basketball. I think that's pretty cool, and that's, those are the things that mean the most to me when people come up to me and, I don't really get offended when people say, I've never watched women's basketball before. I think, 1, you're a little late to the party, yes, but 2, that's cool. We're changing the game, we're attracting more people to it. But at the same time, those little things are just, I think the moments that we'll remember for forever.
And that's what you want to do. You want the young girl who never thought about picking up a basketball now will pick up a basketball because of Caitlin Clark.
Sure.
And then seeing others, and then some of them become Angel Reese fans because they like Angel Reese, or Paige Becker's fans, or Camila Cardoza fans, or maybe Full Wiley fans, or whoever. You want to keep them now. Like you said, we gave you the hook. Now we want to keep you, and that's really what you want. And again, saying sports are a niche sport besides the NFL is not being disrespectful. It's being truthful.
Sure.
You got to have stars to cut through the clutter today. And for the women, hopefully this is the start of cutting through that clutter to find your audience. Very simple.
Right.
All right, we'll come back in here, continue our conversation about the Gamecocks winning the national championship yesterday, defeating Iowa, number 3 for Dawn Staley. We'll hear from Raven Johnson. Oh, that's right. We got Elijah. We'll get to Raven later. We got Elijah with a report here, a final report from our buddy Elijah, as he tells us about his trip to Cleveland. That's next on the halftime show on the game. Do not forget baseball here on the game tomorrow. Neutral site game at Truist Park, North Carolina and South Carolina. The midweek 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch, and then Friday back in SEC play, 6:15 in Gainesville against Florida. That's 6:15 pregame again against the Gators. All right, he survived. 7-hour layovers, crazy hotel cancellations, other weird things that happened that would have broke laws in probably 32 other states.
And more deep dish pizza than the average human should consume in a 24-hour period.
Yes, he's Elijah Campbell. All right, man. So, if I would do a word association with you and said, your trip to Cleveland for the women's Final Four, what would be the first sentence that would come to your head?
Ooh, the first word I would think, man, hectic. I mean, because there's still a lot going on, between the layover, the hotel situation, and then obviously covering the largest, probably will break the record for the most viewed women's college basketball game of all time. Oh, and an undefeated championship season. There was a lot going on to break the normal mind.
All right, so as you watch this game unfold yesterday, Iowa comes out just shooting the lights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Clark scores 18 in the first quarter. I think they were hitting 70% of their shots. From three, they were crushing it at a high rate as well, but they were only up single digits. Did you get that feeling where it's like, okay, South Carolina, they survived the barrage, they've kind of settled down a little bit, and we'll see where this goes for the next three quarters?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew as soon as they cut it to single digits in that first quarter, at the end of the first quarter to make it 27-20, I kind of was thinking if you get it down to a possession or two at halftime, we're going to get into a war of attrition. And South Carolina's got 4 bench players that play anywhere from, 15 to 25 minutes in every given game. And Iowa really only has one that plays anything over 4 minutes. And at halftime, I tallied it up, and Iowa had 9 total bench minutes in that first half. South Carolina had 38. So I realized the legs are going to be gone. And look, I didn't really realize exactly how short of a turnaround that is for the teams that played the late game on Friday. Like, Caitlin Clark left the podium at the press conference after the game against UConn at close to 1 a.m. And then they have their shoot around and walk through, and then their open practice and media availability the next day. Oh, yeah, and you got to cram and scout and do a bunch of film and try to prepare for the 37-0 undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks who just got off of dismantling North Carolina State the night before. And I don't care if you have, Caitlin Clark, Pistol Pete Maravich, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, insert whoever as your best player. That is a tough turnaround. And if you don't have the firepower, if you don't have, players that are able to come off the bench and be able to spell your best players in those situations, that's a next to impossible turnaround.
Elijah Campbell hanging out with us, covering the women's Final Four, and of course the goings on at CLA today, 2 o'clock halftime show. Terry Ford, Elijah Campbell, and Tyler Head here on the game. All right, let's talk about the job Raven Johnson did. She went to Dawn Staley in the first quarter. Let me guard Caitlin Clark. So Dawn Staley puts her on Clark, and the numbers when Johnson was covering Clark, basically Raven Johnson did a really nice job making Caitlin Clark very uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. And you could just tell that Raven was this is a game that is over 365 days in the making, right? Raven Johnson's the one who tabbed the season, the revenge tour. She was the one who, if you remember in the Final Four game last year against Iowa, Caitlin Clark's the one who looked at her and waved her off when she had the ball at the perimeter, as in, you're not a threat to beat us from there, and just didn't even bother guarding her. And, that's embarrassing. I'm sure Raven Johnson, well, I'm not sure. I know Raven Johnson felt, some type of humiliation from that, and it fueled her. And when she got that opportunity, she made the most of it. And I think the perfect encapsulation of that is the last play of the first half. And that was really when I got the sense that this thing was over. It was only a 3-point lead at halftime, but it wasn't just that they got the lead. It's the way they got the lead. It's Caitlin Clark dribbling the ball in front of Raven Johnson's face, and Raven just swiping it. And by the time Caitlin Clark knew what happened, Raven's, shooting a layup. And I think at that point, you just realize that South Carolina, specifically Raven Johnson, is one step quicker They have Caitlin Clark scouted about as well as you can scout a player of that caliber, and that it was going to be really tough sledding as long as Raven Johnson's on the floor. And for a girl that didn't average more than 27 and a half minutes per game this year going into the NCAA tournament, she played 36.
Yep.
They saved it for this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Elijah Campbell hanging out with us, talking about the women's Final Four in the championship game yesterday in Cleveland, here on the halftime show on the game. And there's so many people to talk about. I haven't gotten a chance to get to Tahina Powell yet. One thing we've talked about on this show, you guys have talked about, you and Jay on the postgame show, Bill, Gamecock Central, everyone, is that you couldn't defend South Carolina the same way you did last year. And one of the major reasons was you had a sniper at 3 in Tahina Powell, who, by the way, led the nation in three-point shooting percentage. And yesterday, quietly went about her business, Elijah, hit 3 of 4 from three-point range, scored 14 points in the game. And, again, you can't guard them like you used to because someone like Powell or Tessa Johnson makes you pay from 3.
Exactly, and that was the biggest difference, going into this year, is being able to get a couple snipers out there that you can't just hard double Camila Cardoso, right? Even if because Camila has turned into a really good passer from the post, but let's say that she's an average passer, she's still going to be able to find one of those two shooters out on the wing. And a couple of the threes that Tahina Powell hit yesterday were just backbreakers. One on an inside out. They were able to get the Iowa defense scrambled enough to where she catches it in perfect rhythm, hits the 3. And that was right before Raven Johnson's, aforementioned steal on Caitlin Clark right at the end of the first half. And it went from Iowa being up, being on defense and looking like they're about to take a lead to the halftime break and maybe them surviving South Carolina's barrage of points at the end of that half to 5 points in like 20 seconds. And a lot of that has to do with you cannot let Tahina Powell out of your sight. And as much love as Caitlin Clark gets for her three-point shooting prowess, and rightfully so, she's an almost 40% three-point shooter with a lot of those shots coming from step backs from, 25 feet. It's a marvel to watch. But if we want to talk about pound for pound best shooter in women's college basketball, I'll take the girl that was almost 50% for most of the season, even if she only took 3 or 4 a game. If she got the green light to shoot maybe 7 or 8, maybe she's probably only like 45%. I don't know. But for pound, that's the best shooter in the sport.
All right. Last thing, we got like about a minute and a half. Thoughts on Dawn Staley joining a very elite crew of head coaches, winning 3 national championships and 2, where the South Carolina program is nationally?
It makes you wonder what else she can do, right? I mean, 3 national championships, check. Win a championship while replacing an entire different starting 5, check. Do so by dominating the transfer portal and recruiting, check. Oh, and also do it undefeated, something that only 9 teams before them in the history of the sport have done, 6 of whom were UConn. You can make that a check as well. And when you're talking about Dawn Staley and accolades, whether it be as a player or a coach, good luck finding something that she has not done now at this point. I can't think of anything.
Well, and they're the best team in America. It's the best program in the country at this point.
Yep, it's at UConn status, where it's almost a well-oiled machine to the point where you expect them to now win 35-plus a year.
All right, my man, nice work. Real quick, let's give some love to the people that got you there, our wonderful, wonderful advertisers.
That's right. Yeah, CW Cabinetry was a big one. Columbia Craft and Forest Lake Travel, our friend Daisy Miller, did a good job of getting the flight situated and doing a really good job of sending me on a trip that, fellas, I'm never going to forget.
Thank you, my man. Nice work, nice job. It was quite the adventure, sir.
Hey, absolutely. And I'm excited to keep talking about it because it's not going to be forgotten anytime soon.
No, you'll cover everything over at CLA today. You'll jump back in here with Jay this afternoon from 3 to 6. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see. It's our buddy Elijah Campbell finally back with boots on the ground in Columbia after his
he could write a book about his past week.
Unbelievable. I will get back in here. It's supposed to be football, but it's football, basketball, football, basketball. Interesting goings on. The men play for a championship tonight, and no one's talking about that. There's something else in the world of men's college basketball that everyone's talking about. We'll get to it next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, National Championship Celebration Monday here on The Game.
Gamecocks need a bucket here after their 9-point lead has been dwindled down to 2. 2-3 zone by Iowa. Raven with 15 to shoot it. Passes left to Tessa. She'll put it on the floor. Cut off on the baseline. Zings it right side to Breezy for 3. In and out, no good. But there's Watkins with the rebound. Stick back is good. Ashlyn Watkins with her first points and a much-needed rebound.
Brad Muller on the call. Oops. Gotta get that out of there. I don't know why that play. Okay, we'll figure it out. We got a little bug in the system there somehow. All right, halftime show. There was another highlight from the South Carolina victory. That's Ashlyn Watkins putback. South Carolina pummeled Iowa on the boards in this victory, just like last year in the loss.
Yeah, as expected.
Yeah, and the difference was obviously South Carolina's three-point shooting, obviously South Carolina's defense on Caitlin Clark, and all those things equal up to a Gamecock National Championship, the third for Dawn. We'll get back into that here in a few minutes as we're celebrating Championship Monday here on the game. All right, so UConn and Purdue are playing for the national championship. Defending national champions going up against a team looking for redemption after being a one that got beat by a 16 last year. Purdue has, I guess, the closest thing to a name guy in our boy Edney, the center,
who everybody overlooked, despite being 7'4".
7'4", and nobody believed in him.
Went to this place called IMG Academy. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Small little high school,
in the middle of nowhere in Florida.
Right?
Yeah. Nobody comes out of there.
And so this game is got some compelling storylines, but it now has been overshadowed. Well, first, before we get to how it's overshadowed, here's Danny Hurley, head coach of the UConn Huskies, on making it to the national championship game for a second straight year and getting a chance to repeat.
I think listen, when you break through that euphoria that you feel when you've punched your ticket to the Final Four, and just the bigness of this event, just participating in it as a coach or a player, the experience, this setting, the buses, the police escorts, the 70,000 people in the state. I mean, it's an incredible experience, and it doesn't, the second time you make it feels just as good as the first.
Yeah, I mean, you got a chance to repeat, man. Obviously, it feels great. And Danny Hurley's done, I never saw this coming. I'm not going to lie. I thought Danny Hurley was a good coach. I never saw this coming with Danny Hurley. I didn't think he was going to be a guy sitting in front of a microphone talking about the chance to repeat as a national champion. I give Danny Hurley a ton of props. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually kind of very reminiscent of what South Carolina was able to do this season, where you replaced pretty much your entire starting five from a season ago. Now, UConn did win the national championship. South Carolina came up short, but to be right back in the mix of potentially winning a national championship this season, that's why he won Coach of the Year. Or not, he didn't win Coach of the Year. That's why he was in such consideration for Coach of the Year. Ended up coming up second there, because it is pretty remarkable. Yes, you're a powerful program that's expected to be in this position, but to not really skip a beat after losing so many talented players a year ago is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, but that's not the big story today in men's college basketball. The big story today is John Calipari at Kentucky will be the new head coach at Arkansas as soon as the deal is finalized. And there's a bunch of things to look at here, and we'll get more into it probably tomorrow. Today's a day of celebration for the South Carolina women. But I see this, and this is where I'm going to go today, and tomorrow we'll dive deeper into this. But ESPN. John Calipari is finalizing a five-year deal to become the next men's basketball coach at Arkansas. A blockbuster move that will shake up the SEC and the college basketball landscape. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Does it really? Kentucky's won one NCAA tournament game in 3 years. John Calipari has obviously not evolved with the game.
This very much is the initial shock type of thing, because let me ask you a question. When you first saw this pop up, whether you're on Twitter or got a text or something like that, you probably didn't believe it when it first saw it.
I thought it was fake Twitter.
Yeah, you're like, somebody's just trying to rouse something up on a Sunday night and, be funny about it. Because I didn't believe it the first time. I'm like, well, that's not true. And then you dive into it, it's like, oh, they're throwing all the Tyson chicken nugget money at him to come to Arkansas.
Yeah,
This is real.
Absolutely. And I think he gets paid in Tyson chicken nuggets, which is not bad.
That's not a bad way to get paid, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't mind either. Give me a little honey mustard. But yeah, I mean, we'll get, like I say, we'll dive more into it tomorrow. But John Calipari, first of all, hasn't evolved. Kentucky hasn't mattered since they've made an Elite Eight in 2019. He's still running the one and done offense. And that's the thing. This is only a huge move if John Calipari understands that he's got to change.
Yes.
And again, this is not brain surgery, man. UConn's about to go back to back. Tristan Newton is the leading scorer for the UConn Huskies, a transfer. He was in the transfer portal a couple years ago from, I believe, East Carolina.
Right.
Cam Spencer, transfer portal from Rutgers, 2 top leading scorers. Alex Caravan, sophomore, recruited by Hurley, and is his second year at UConn. Donovan Clingan, the big sophomore at UConn for 2 years. You don't get to the fancy top 15 recruit for this year till you get to Stephen Castle. He's the 5th leading scorer on the team.
Right.
You've got veterans here. You've got transfer portal veterans. You've got veterans who have been there. This team is not built on one and doners.
Yes.
Cal, come on, dude. Get your head out of your ego and understand the game today.
And go back to why they lost that game against a team like Oakland in the first round. Are they more talented than Oakland? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Are they more experienced? Not even close. And that's why a team like that, if you play that game 10 times, Kentucky probably wins that game 8 out of those 10. But on that night, that experience ended up winning out over a group of guys that were relatively young and relatively new to the college game. And sometimes that's what it comes down to, which again is why he's not been able to get past the round of 32 since before COVID.
I mean, look, Coach K got to the Final Four a couple years ago in his final season, but once Duke went all in on one and doners, they didn't have the success they had back in the day.
Right.
I mean, that Zion team we talked about got beat at 16, if my memory serves me.
Yeah.
So, again, Cal, that offense is over, bud. Your 18-year-old teenagers are getting beat by grown men. You got to understand, this is only a blockbuster move in college basketball if Cal evolves. If not, he can stand up all the time and go, you know how many players I got to the NBA? No one cares, dude. Here's what they care about at Arkansas. Win games.
I was going to say, it'll create intrigue from the Arkansas standpoint of them suddenly signing a bunch of 5-stars probably.
But here's the thing about Arkansas. You know, people act like Arkansas, just started their basketball program. Eddie Sutton went to the Final Four at Arkansas with Sidney Moncrief, won a national title with Nolan Richardson and the 40 Minutes of Hell. And Eric Musselman's been to 2 Elite Eights in the last few years.
And that's what I'm going to be the most interested to see, this split, okay? So, again, Calipari was pulling in McDonald's All-Americans left and right with his eyes closed at Kentucky. Do these guys now, and we don't know who the coach Kentucky's going to be, do guys suddenly go because of the Kentucky brand and because of what it's meant to college basketball for a long time? Or is it more about Coach Calipari? Like, the split in this is very intriguing to me.
And you're right, it depends on who takes a Kentucky gig.
Yeah.
Who's going to re-recruit these kids? Because my first thought is they want to go with Cal because Cal's the Pied Piper to get you to the NBA, right?
Yeah.
He told you how many hundreds of millions of dollars his players made right before the start of the NCAA tournament.
Sure.
When then he got bounced by Oakland.
Right.
So, again, I get it. Calipari's a Hall of Fame coach and had a great run. 4 Final Fours in his first 6 years at Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Final Four at Memphis. Final Four at UMass. I'm not doubting his resume. I'm saying the man is not evolving.
Right.
And again, if he wants to continue pulling, 18-year-old McDonald's All-Americans, that's fine. But eventually, you know what's going to happen? The grown men are going to beat you. Because that's the way this is now.
Right.
So this whole thing, changing the landscape, and tell you what, let me see Cal get in the world of college basketball in 2024, and then we'll talk about the cataclysmic shift in college basketball with Cal.
Yeah, which from his standpoint, I completely understand where you're going to do this. The relationship you had at Kentucky was fractured. It wasn't going to last that much longer. They were going to bring you back for another season, but you get bounced in the round of 64-32. Again, you probably get fired. So go ahead, take your money, sign a 5-year deal with Arkansas.
We'll get into this more tomorrow, but this is basically a marriage where one person was sitting in the living room watching TV and the other person was upstairs in the bedroom watching TV.
They were staying together for the children.
Yes, they were. And we'll get into this more tomorrow, but John Calipari will be the head coach at the University of Arkansas as soon as the deal is finished, and he's going to get paid in chicken nuggets. All right. Firehouse Sub Text the Hour on our text line coming up next at 803-404-6100. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, a celebration today on the halftime show on the game. Okay, I can't see anything in these glasses, Tyler.
All right, I guess I got to put mine on too.
What's the deal
It's coming at like 2, right?
Yeah, I've been threatened by my girlfriend because she's the one that got me the glasses.
Well,
that I've got to have the glasses on at 2 to go look outside.
this is hard to put on with cans on.
We're looking at the video stream. I look styling, probably.
My wife brought mine by because I forgot them this morning off the kitchen table.
And what did I say to you?
Year one.
If I like, my girlfriend made sure I had them in my hand.
At what year does it go? Go blind. I don't care.
You know what? Probably with you guys, I'm gonna give you 5 years.
Okay, these are okay. I guess I can stare at the sun with these because I cannot see anything.
Because at this point, if I would have forgotten these, my girlfriend would have been, "Oh, sweetie, let me bring them to you." I'd have gotten a text message filled with cuss words.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to take these off so we can do the.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not gonna be able to read anything.
Woo! Okay.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't have thrown mine away from the one 7 years ago.
Probably
it's
not.
like it's insane that was that long ago.
Well, it's funny. Jay calls me this morning.
Right.
Because Jay and I we try to talk every day, but it's like, some days we don't, some days we do, just to get a run of what he's doing with the show and all that stuff, and we just shoot the crap about, and we end up talking about ridiculous things.
Yeah.
So he calls me. He goes, "Okay, man. First thing, I'm serious. I can't find glasses anywhere. I can't find our ones from 2017.
Yeah.
Everything's sold out. There's none anywhere. Any clue? Maybe do we have any glasses like laying in the prize closet from 2017? Because we did this thing in 2017." I said, "Jay, I think I have an extra pair." My girlfriend gave me 2 because she figures I'm a moron and I'll screw up one.
Sure.
You can have the second pair.
That's fine.
First thing he says to me on the phone, and you want to get a pair of glasses?
That's just the one thing that I always think about from 2017, because it was during football season. It was like in August or whatever. Somebody asked Nick Saban at his presser that day, like, "Hey, what are you going to do about your players in the eclipse?" And he's like, "I guess they can look up at it, but while we're practicing," like, what'd you think he was going to say? "No, we're going to set aside a special hour of practice to allow our players." No. You knew what kind of answer you were going to get out of Nick Saban on that.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he didn't throw you out of the press conference.
Lucky Nick didn't go, "What eclipse?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?"
You know
eclipse?
what? Coaches like that probably have no idea what's going on in the world outside of football.
We'll get to our Firehouse subtext the hour, but first, our eclipse expert,
Oh, boy.
David Adair, pops in here. Use eclipse glasses if you have purchased them recently. Glasses left over from 2017 might not be safe.
Okay.
The State Museum Store has several different styles of approved eclipse glasses available for purchase. The American Astronomical Society also has a list of approved suppliers on their website, so do not use them from 2017.
My buddy that works at the Weather Channel hopped on a flight to Indianapolis this morning so he could go see it.
My girlfriend's office mate took the week off.
The week?
She's traveling to Texas to see it in Texas.
Wow.
That's hardcore. That's dedication.
I understand it's a big event.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I'm going to glance at. Yeah. That's cool. And then go about my business probably, if I'm being honest.
I've been told this. Again, girlfriend gave me I got the how-to.
Yeah.
2 o'clock, go outside and look. 2:15, no, she goes 2:30, go back out and look.
Okay.
3 o'clock, go back out and look.
Okay.
And then try to look again between 3:15 and 3:30. You'll see how it changes.
So we're just going to be running outside during all of our breaks?
Yes, pretty much. I figured let's go out every break and just look up at the sky with our glasses on and see what's up.
All right.
Because she showed me on this website,
Yeah.
they had real time of the movement
Yeah.
of the sun and everything. Yeah, so I got instructions.
Be like a field trip.
Yeah, I got instructions.
Okay, we do need to get to our Firehouse subtext of the hour.
Please do.
Greg says this 5-year stretch shows how hard it is to win an Addy. 5-year stretch was COVID shut down, missed putback, 4th and 20 from 3 feet away from 4 for 20 from 3 night away from possibly having 5 straight national championships, and feels like SC still doesn't get the credit from the national media still.
I mean, and that's a great text because you think about that. I mean, you miss a putback, point blank, heartbreaking.
Yep.
Last year, heartbreaking. You were right there at the end, even though you didn't shoot well from 3 and you were climbing uphill all night.
You hit 50%, you win.
Yeah. And then you had the COVID year. So there's 3 opportunities right there, especially the COVID year where a lot of people figure, okay, South Carolina at least gets to the Final Four.
Right.
and you still have two. You still have 2 national championships out of it.
Yep.
So, yeah, Texter, I hear you. If you're a South Carolina Gamecock women's basketball fan, you look at this 5-year run, you want to talk about roller coasters, highs and lows?
Even with all the what ifs, you got 3 in 8 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn impressive.
Really impressive. So, excellent text. We appreciate it. On the our Text the Hour, sponsored by our buddies at Firehouse Sub, 803-404-6100 is the text line. Also, the phone line, give us a holler. As we will continue, what's trending at 2, South Carolina Gamecocks won the national championship yesterday. We'll get more into that. We're going to dig into some Raven Johnson in our next segment, as Raven had some different comments. One about wanting to guard Caitlin Clark. We'll get into that and hear some other stuff from Raven Johnson in our next segment as we celebrate the national champion South Carolina Gamecock women beating Iowa yesterday. 3 in 8 years for Dawn and the crew. Congratulations. We'll come back in here, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. halftime show on a Celebration Monday here on the game as we celebrate a national championship, third one in 8 years for the Gamecock women. We got a little special guest we're going to bring in and have some fun here in a few minutes.
Okay.
So we'll do that. Obviously, what's trending at 2, sponsored by our friends at Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry, the official, by the way, clothier of NIL for South Carolina for Garnet Trust.
Fantastic.
How about that? So if you buy some little swag there, a little merch, some of it goes to the Garnet Trust.
By the way, they play our station all day long there.
Oh, really?
Did you know this?
I did not know this.
I went in there one time and I was like, that sounds familiar. Oh, that's Jay and Elijah.
I know those people. It's like these voices, these annoying voices are haunting me everywhere I go. Oh, it's Jay and Elijah.
Then I think about people listening to my voice while they're shopping, and I'm like, ugh.
I know, it's like, wow, that means when people are in here, they're hearing us talk.
Me.
Oh. All right, so we're getting a little Raven Johnson in here from yesterday. Like I said, look, I get it. Camila Cardozo, the most outstanding player in the Final Four. I totally understand it. Thumbs up there. But the key of that entire basketball game yesterday was when Raven Johnson walked up to Dawn Staley and said, "Let me guard Clark."
Yeah. Well, I think that was the plan going in, but
she was bugging her.
Yeah.
It's like, put me on her. I want to go. I want to go. Okay, whatever your plan was, it's go time.
Yeah.
She just scored 18. Let me guard her.
Yeah.
Here's Raven Johnson talking about it. Let's grab that cut here, Tyler, really quick. Cut 17, Raven on guarding Caitlin Clark.
Don't let her score. I mean, I was ready. I was ready for the moment, and I take defense very hard. Like, I take it to heart, and I think I studied her moves, and I was ready. I had confidence this year. I mean, I was telling myself last year's not going to happen again. So.
And it didn't.
No, it did not. And she hounded her. Look, elite scorers in basketball, you're not going to shut them out. You're not, for them to struggle, part of it's them.
Sure.
It just is. All you can do defensively is make it as difficult as humanly possible for them. Get them off rhythm, make them work, make them grind. Make it tough for them to, A, get the ball, 2, to get to their spots, 3, to be on any kind of rhythm or any kind of balance. And Raven Johnson did a great job making it as humanly difficult as possible in Caitlin Clark.
And Caitlin Clark ends up averaging just a little better than 1 point per shot attempt. Going 10 for 28, obviously only scoring 30 points. So those are the kind of numbers. And again, she's one of those players. She's gonna get hers.
Right.
She's gonna score in the 20s or 30s. You hope she doesn't get into the 40s, but she's gonna score a lot of points because she's the focal point of that offense.
You want to make them take as many shots as possible to get their points, and that's what happened with Caitlin Clark, especially after the first quarter. Second, third, and fourth quarter. Totally ineffective.
Yes.
And a lot of that was Raven Johnson making it very difficult for Caitlin Clark. Also, here's Raven Johnson. Let's grab cut 28. We talked about this earlier, giving her cut of the net to Aaliyah Boston.
I mean, part of this is water freshies. I mean, they started this tour, and we wouldn't be here without them. I mean, the leadership that they instilled us in, the girls that was here last year, it means a lot. So I gave my net to Aaliyah Boston because she helped me a lot along the way.
And again, that goes to culture.
Absolutely.
That goes to the culture that was built from the beginning that has led to here, where it goes from the Asia Wilsons, the Aaliyah Bostons, and it just keeps going down the pike. And that is culture right there of, hey, Aaliyah, yeah, last year happened, it stunk, but without you guys, we're not here today. And that is really the culture and the leadership that you have in this program. Last one, too. Let's get Raven Johnson talking about how they became that team. Grab that cut, Tyler, cut 30.
It did start with Coach. I mean, like I said, in the summer, we didn't touch a ball. All we did was conditioning, and we had Final Four Fridays with Molly. Those days were very hard with us. I remember some of us saying, like, we're not going to be that team. Like, we just need to face the fact that we're probably not going to be that team. Coach, I think she met us like where we were, and she helped us grow. She helped us, just all the coaches. They help us get to the level that, they have expectations here, and it's a high expectation. And I think that Coach, she instilled in us like the expectation that should be how we should be displaying our talents, how we should, be carrying ourselves, just pro habits. She's big on pro habits and being disciplined. So I think Coach, she played a big role in this.
There you go. Didn't touch a basketball. Just did a ton of conditioning. And when you're 9, 10 deep, everybody's in pretty good shape.
And that played perfectly to their advantage. We'll What was that score for bench points last night? South Carolina 37. How many for Iowa?
Iowa scored as many as we did.
That's right.
Yeah, 37-0 off the bench. And like I said, Caitlin Clark, she had that miserable face at the end of the game that marathoners have at the end of the marathon.
Yeah.
Especially that dude who, you know what the heck? I've never done a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon.
Oh, he thinks that running the 26.2 miles, I run every day. I'm good.
That's nothing.
It's a
I
little
can do
different.
that.
It's a little different, buddy.
I ran a 5K last month.
Sure.
I'll knock off that marathon. That's a look that Caitlin Clark had on her face at the end of that game in the postgame. She was wore out.
Right.
From Raven Johnson and the other athletic perimeter defenders that South Carolina could put on her. It was just different. And like Raven Johnson said, it wasn't going to be last year again.
No.
We're going to do everything we could to make sure. But, of course, when Caitlin Clark pops you 18 in the first quarter, you're like, ooh.
Okay, time to wake up.
But to South Carolina's credit, they did. And offensively, it was a different team. Gamecocks, they roll out where they could beat you inside, outside. They look at you. You want to play slow? We'll play slow. You want to play fast? We'll play fast. Matter of fact, pick how you want us to win.
Yeah, it was I don't want to say impenetrable type of team, but about as close to it as you can get.
Just watching them through the year, you're like, okay, where is the Achilles heel? Okay, some nights you turn the ball over a little bit. Oh, we get it. And then you had the thing of giving up the big leads and, letting teams back in games. That became a thing late in the season. But really, when you watched them, Tyler, they could beat you from the perimeter. They could beat you inside. They would out-rebound you. They had shot alters and shot blockers. They passed the ball well. They shared it. There was no glaring weakness. Like last year, that weakness was there. That perimeter shooting was there.
Sure.
And then it reared its ugly head at the worst possible moment. This team did not have that glaring weakness of, oh, my God, this could get them.
Yeah, and as we saw with the likes of, like Oregon State, or not Oregon State and Indiana, and Oregon State to a degree the other week, where if you have a team that can shoot well enough from the perimeter and their shots are just falling, you can stay in the game against South Carolina. But that depth that they have and the physicality that they play with usually ends up winning out in the end, as it did for 38 times this season.
And what happened was when they started to get challenged, whether it was the LSU game in Baton Rouge, in the SEC tournament against Tennessee and LSU, the Indiana game, the Oregon State game in the NCAA tournament, they made plays. They made winning plays. Both ends of the court, they found ways to win. Yeah, it got a little clunky every now and then here, but they always found a way to win. That's one of the things we talked with Brad Muller about early in the season was I said, Brad, we're watching them skull kick everybody right now. They scored 200 points on Notre Dame in the opener. I mean, what moving forward are you concerned about? And he said, when these games get tight, who are the leaders? Who are going to be the ones that step up and take this leadership, that void, because they lost so much experience?
Well, and sometimes that ends up being a true freshman in Tessa Johnson, who ends up leading the team in scoring last night and hits half of her three-pointers. So it comes in different ways.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think you had Cardoza, you had Pau, you had a bunch of different players. Like you said, could be a Tessa Johnson come off the bench and just calmly drain a big three against Oregon State or score 19 in the championship game, or Fawali goes crazy and starts making plays. They were a very loose group. You heard Dawn say this all the time. They're so loose. They're just so loose. They're different. They talk about stuff we got to shut the door sometime. We don't want other people hearing it. They're just different, man. And Dawn, to her credit, adjusted to it.
Right.
And let them be them. Again, you just don't break the tenets of what make us our program. But besides that, we're going to let you be you.
Right.
And that's what, and plus, you could tell when Dawn talking about it, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for Dawn to do that, man. And then like Asia Wilson, some of the old timers are showing up going, well, what's this mess? What are we doing here?
Wait, you didn't let us do that.
You got soft. I've told you. My two oldest kids do that about my two youngest. They look at me and they go, Dad, when'd you get soft?
Well, I was going to say, if it's soft and suddenly you're only going 500 and not making the tournament, then we got a problem.
Oh, yeah.
You're soft and still winning everything, all good with me.
Let me tell you something. If they would have started losing some games, some of the old rules would have came back.
Oh, sure.
Guarantee you. Guaranteed. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. So it was different. Dawn evolved. You get more experience. You know what it is, too? And Preston and I were talking about this when Dawn first was discussing this a couple weeks ago. You know what it is? You realize some things just ain't worth the battle.
Sure.
some stuff you thought 20 years ago you're going to fight about because that was a big, important thing. Now you go, who really cares? I don't care. I don't care. And I think that's what Dawn realizes. Some things just 20 years ago might have been worth it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Was she trying to establish a culture? Was she trying to establish certain things? Or did she just believe at that time those things were important? And then as she gets 20 years older or 10 years older, she goes, you know what?
Well,
really not that important anymore.
It gets to the point where you really weigh the pros and cons of everything. It's like, does this actually help us be better at basketball and be better than every opponent that we go against? Sometimes the answer to that question is no. So you're saying, okay, I can have a different approach on this. Is what we're doing now going to hurt us from being better at basketball or hurt us against specific opponents? And the answer is no, then why not?
And you know what else, too? It's having, in this analytic world we live in sports, where we're taking all these analytic numbers and percentages and probabilities and all this other stuff, I still believe that the really special coaches have a feel and an instinct.
Yeah.
And I think Dawn just had a feel and an instinct for this team of, I'm gonna back it up and let them be them. I see all the talent. I see we're doing all the things I need them to do.
Right.
So I'm going to let it roll. It's a feel and an instinct I think that the upper level coaches have of just, okay, I usually zig here. What the heck, I'm going to zag.
Yeah,
I feel like I can.
And again, they've got their finger on the tab ready to pull it back if things start going sideways.
Yeah.
But as long as everything's good, you can allow them to have their fun and have their phones and play with party balloons at a hotel or whatever it is.
Doing the Macarena.
If your players are happy and have a good time and you're still winning, all good with me.
You know what that means? When you're winning like that, they have personality.
Exactly.
When you're losing, you got problems.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You know what? We're going to, you and I have been yapping around. Let's talk to somebody else about all this.
Okay.
And one of our buddies from WIS TV.
All right.
Does that sound like a plan?
Fantastic.
Sam Shapiro, news guy, wants to talk sports. Did sports for a long time. Long time, right, Sam?
Yes, sir. I studied sports media at Ithaca College, and I was able to do cover some sports up in Elmira, New York. In addition to doing some news.
Funny, I knew a guy that swam at Ithaca College. Small world.
Small world.
You knew a guy.
You're still in the SUNYAC, right?
They are in the Liberty League now.
Okay.
So how long ago was this? You knew the guy that swam there?
10 or so years ago. He was older than me.
He's older than you?
Yeah. So I guess they've switched conferences since.
Would Sam know him, you think?
Probably not.
Okay. Then.
No.
Never mind the whole thing, Sam.
That's okay.
All right.
Just an interesting connection.
Yeah, we'll come back in here. Sam did sports for a while. He's doing news now. We're going to yap and have a little fun with Sam. We'll talk about what happened yesterday and just, we'll just get to know our buddy Sam Shapiro here for a little bit. All right, we'll come back. We'll continue our conversation because it is Celebration Monday, National Championship number 3 for Dawn Staley and the South Carolina women. Also, we will come back. All right, we have played a ton of sound, Tyler. Which one have we missed that we should play in your mind, sir?
Let me get back to you on that on the other side.
All right, we'll get more from the Gamecocks as they cut down the nets in Cleveland and won another national championship. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, our new buddy Sam Shapiro from WIS-TV. Jay's here. He brought me barbecue because I gave him a pair of glasses.
That's fair.
Oh, absolutely fair. Barbecue for Eclipse glasses?
So we've been paid in Tyson chicken nuggets, and we're talking about Coach Calipari going to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting paid in barbecue for the glasses. I like this new style of food to money transaction.
I'm thinking we found something. I think we found something here.
Now, what's your preferred type of barbecue? Let me ask you that question.
I just like barbecue, man. I don't really have a preference.
See, I'm
good with any.
I'd do anything for a pulled pork sandwich. That's my go-to.
Solid. Pulled pork's very good.
Never misses.
I tell you, I am a huge. I loved the brisket when I was in Houston.
Yeah,
it was really good. I mean, brisket in Texas is stupid, but barbecue here is good. Little Pigs, I can hang out and do that buffet every day, man.
For sure.
Little Pigs is top drawer. All right, so obviously we were talking a ton about what happened yesterday in Cleveland. Our man Elijah Campbell was on the ground. He's now over at CLA for the celebration. Real quick, Tyler, do you have a cut that that we haven't gotten to yet that you think we should?
Yeah, so let's go to Tahina Pow just talking about what this perfect season means for this team.
Yeah, it just means so much. We've come a long way. It's been a long journey. We've trusted each other so much over the season. We have so much confidence with each other, so much love. We're going to sound like a broken record, but it's love throughout this whole program, throughout this whole team. And we just genuinely love to be with each other. We genuinely want to see everyone succeed. And it's just been a great journey, and to cap it off like a perfect season is just a blessing. And all glory to God for that.
I mean, think how vital she was.
Oh, she was the catalyst for the change in this offense.
Yes.
Because, again, a season ago when you lost to Iowa, you couldn't shoot from the outside. Well, guess what? You went to the other coast and got one of the best three-point shooters in the country. And, again, everything kind of followed suit with these other girls coming along as three-point shooters after that.
And, again, the way she fell into place. I mean, there were games she'd take 4 shots. I mean, she'd hit 4 threes.
Well, she was 3 or 4 yesterday, so 75%, very effective.
I mean, think about there were games, guys, where she would take maybe 5 shots from the field, 3 of them from 3. She'd hit 3 out of 3, and then she'd have a few assists, a few rebounds, help Raven Johnson kind of run the show. She just fit in seamlessly because she wasn't coming here looking for shots. She was looking for wins.
Yeah, she was leading the NCAA in three-point field goal percentage through the regular year at about a 50% clip. I mean,
early in the year, when she missed, it was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, she missed. Oh, my God.
Right.
Wait a minute. She missed a 3. That was weird because she was making everything. For a while there, she was sitting around 60% or roughly somewhere like that early in the year. Yeah, she was phenomenal. And again, the threes yesterday were huge. And even in games where she scuffled, she still, like I think it was the Indiana game or the Oregon State game, she hit that huge 3 in the second half that helped get the win.
I think she had been blanked up to that point until she made that one.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a calmness to her game. And just, I mean, obviously, being a veteran, and she'll be back next year. So you think about that. Everybody's back, but, Cardoza.
Yep.
And plus, you're bringing the #1 high school recruit in the country. Things will be okay here, Sam, next year.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to have a lot of talent, especially coming in. They got Joyce Edwards from Camden coming over there. And they've really developed Chloe Kitts as well this past season, especially defensively. I mean, she wasn't getting a lot of playing time her freshman year, but this past year, I mean, she's really been a solid piece in that front court.
Now, did you get the chance to go to Cleveland this past week, or just Rick Henry hog everything?
I stuck it out here. I was actually at home team yesterday talking to some of the fans.
Oh, were you? Okay. Yeah, I figured, Rick Price said, I'll go to Cleveland. You go to home team. Hey, look, did you get to eat for free at home team?
I did not.
What?
Yeah, I should have.
We got to talk. We got to talk to Sam.
They don't treat the news people as well as us, I guess.
Sam. You always got to make sure you got an angle for the food, Sam.
That's how we get paid on our remotes, by the way.
We just eat.
Feed us.
We just eat.
I should have asked for a half rack of baby back ribs.
The first thing we say, hey, we got live broadcast at a restaurant. You guys got to set up, right? We got a tab. We can eat.
Right.
We can eat. All right, good. We're in. We're fine. We're fine. So you're over at home team. Obviously the fans are all positive and all the vibe is good. But give me some of your thoughts after speaking with some of the folks.
I mean, it was really nice. I actually had a chance to speak with some of the athletes with some of the other programs at USC as well, and they kind of talked about, just rallying around this team and seeing the community kind of, come together around, Dawn Staley and this group of girls. you don't really see this everywhere else. And, it doesn't just, do something for, the basketball team, but it does a whole for kind of the entire university and their athletics programs.
Yeah, it's sort of like when the baseball team was dominant.
Mm-hmm.
They had
the back-to-back titles.
Right. I mean, you go to 3 straight in Omaha. You're playing for 3 straight titles. You win 2 of them. Look, we love winning in our communities, and when you can get a high-level program that's winning at the rate like the baseball team did, or like Dawn and the basketball team is, it's just people like to feel good, man. And when you're winning like that, and you're cutting down nets and hanging banners. Everybody wants to rally around that because just you want to be associated with that type of success.
Yeah, and it's honestly the funniest part about the whole thing is when you go on a win streak so long, you can't remember the last time you've lost.
Right. Right. Everybody's going, okay, what was that? Okay, regular season. Was that Missouri game in Columbia? Was that
and that's such an interesting perspective when you talk about these 2 titles coming within 3 years of each other. 3 losses over the course of 3 full seasons. That is unbelievable. And again, the objective last year was to go undefeated and win the championship. It came up 1 game short, and then you come into this season, boom, 38-0, perfect season. And again, you've won 100 some odd games with 3 losses in only the past 3 years.
Isn't it? Like 104 and 3. Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, for fun. All right, the 3 losses: Iowa last year in the Final Four.
Yep.
Kentucky in the SEC tournament.
Yep.
And that game in Columbia against Missouri.
That was New Year's Eve of 21, if I remember correctly.
Think about that.
Wow.
That's it. We're done.
I mean, it's really just a testament of Staley's progression as a coach, too. Because, I mean, when she was at Temple, she wasn't leading them to undefeated seasons and taking them on, national tournament runs. And
to be fair, look, when Dawn Staley showed up here, people weren't going, oh, watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
People didn't know we had a women's basketball program at that point in time.
I mean, what she has done just how she's taken this program and she's just grown what this is now, which is the best women's program in America. I mean, it's crazy. And she even said about being under the radar. And I do think that's interesting because this year, and Tyler and I were talking about Sam earlier, you had all this star power people talk about in the women's game, right? With Caitlin Clark and with Angel Reese and Paige Beckers and the team that was just the best team that didn't have the wow superstar that was in commercials. Oh, they were undefeated and won the championship.
Yeah, not to sound cliche, there is no I in team. And, kind of going into that, looking at the Final Four matchups, it was kind of like, well, NC State made the run they did because they have more of a complete team versus they're not really centered. They've got their team centered around one player, more of like a LSU or Iowa. Like this South Carolina team, they had all their, everything checked, front court and back court.
Yeah, tons of talent, too. I mean, these are McDonald's All-Americans who sacrificed their stats and their numbers for wins. So it's a ton of talented players. They just said, we'd rather win games and worry about our stats. And that's where they went. All right, we'll get back in here. We're talking Tyler Head, Terry Ford, Sam Shapiro from WIS-TV. We're going to find out how in God's name did you end up in South Carolina? You running from the law? You hiding from somebody? Hiding from some ex?
By the way, I warned him about the impending summer. It'll be his first year in South Carolina.
Oh, if he's not used to that. Well, if here's upstate New York, you freeze to death.
Yeah.
And down here, well.
Now I'm getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you'll. All right, we'll get back in here. Oh, my gosh. Today's April 8th.
Which is?
The greatest day in the history of the world.
Of course.
That is next here on the Halftime Show on a National Championship Celebration Monday here on The Game. SEC Network right now with the celebration at CLA. It's getting started. Brad Muller at the mic.
Look at our guy, Brad.
Look at our boy, Brad. What are you guys' lucky socks on still?
Probably.
Brad's at the mic.
They're going to have to put those in the rafters, for being honest.
I believe they need to hang those next to the banner. Because I don't know if Brad wants to put those. They probably jumped off of Brad and jumped into the washing machine. So Brad Muller's up there. Dawn Staley working her way up. Crowd is there. Our buddy Elijah Campbell is there covering it for us. And Elijah will be over here as soon as everything's over to hang out with Jay for the postgame show as we roll up, obviously, till 6 here on the game. All right, Terry Ford, Sam Shapiro, Tyler Head, as we kick the halftime show in our National Championship Celebration Monday here on the game. Greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. You have there's a lot of good stuff today.
Yeah.
Fire up the one you have.
I was going to say, it's really hard to beat this one, though.
Yes.
Sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate. And listen to this crowd. This sellout crowd is cheering Henry Aaron, the home run king of all time.
That's a day right there.
50 years ago.
Crazy.
Insane.
Off of Al Dowling, right?
I believe so.
Off of Al Downing of the...
I wasn't alive back then.
I was little teeny me. You know, it's funny. I remember, like, those little things you remember when you were a kid.
Sure.
I remember vaguely, like, they had a big thing about that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you got the Atlanta Braves shirt on there, Jay Phillips?
Jay's got his old school Braves shirt on.
Yeah, by the way, that thing's got some underarm stains. Wow. Anyway, it's survived
It's probably lucky like the Sox.
Yeah. But I remember, like, they did, I guess what we would call today, like, documentaries on it.
Yeah,
It was a special. They called it a special back then.
Sure.
I remember being a little kid watching it, and just what Hank Aaron went through was unbelievable. I mean, hate mail, death threats, just because he was going to break Babe Ruth's record. It was craziness. He had to have security all around him.
Right.
Because you don't know who's a goof and who's, like, legit.
Well, this was the Deep South in the 70s.
1974 in the Deep South. I mean, you know, and so think about this. Roger Maris, when he was breaking Babe Ruth's single-season home run record, the stress was so much when Maris's hair was falling out.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me, my stress. But so think about Maris's stress.
Right.
Now add all the other stress that Hank Aaron had to be under because of all the other things that Maris would never have to experience.
And I think about it from this perspective, too. So obviously April 8th, the very beginning of a new season, he probably, if I remember correctly, was thought to be able to get to it at the end of 1973, had to go through that entire off season knowing that record was on the horizon, had to wait to break it until early in the season.
Honestly, it was good. He's got it over with. I mean, we talked about the other day when he hit the tying home run off of Jack Billingham of the Reds, then hits the record breaker off of Al Downing, and it was all done really early in the year, and it was finished.
Yep.
And he broke that record. And that was, I tell you, that was, whew. And then when he does it, these two goobers come out of the stands, and they're just like, dude, hey, man, dude, let's jump the fence and go. Let's go congratulate Hank, man. All right, dude, this sounds cool. And they jump the fence. And with all the death threats and all the stuff that was going on.
You don't know what their plan was or what they were capable of.
And they look like just two stoner dudes that wanted to say, congratulations, Hank.
Thankfully, they just wanted to congratulate him, and now they're forever etched in a moment in sports history, which is crazy.
All right, other ones. This day's filled with stuff. 1969, Major League Baseball's expansion teams, Royals, the Expos, Padres, and Pilots all won their first games. Of course, the Pilots are only in Seattle for 1 year, and you know where they ended up?
I don't.
Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
They became the Brewers. The Braves were in Milwaukee, and then the Braves left to go to Atlanta. Milwaukee was open.
Hank Aaron started his career as a Milwaukee Brave.
Did. That's right. They won a World Series as the Milwaukee Braves. Late 50s, if my memory serves me. No, I wasn't alive. I knew you were going to say it. I beat you to it. No, I wasn't alive. Young punk. Anyway.
Whatever you say.
So, The Braves moved to Atlanta. Milwaukee's open. The Pilots are there for 1 year and then peace out, and they become the Milwaukee Brewers. And 7 years later, the Mariners show up in Seattle. And
I think Mariners is a cooler name than Pilots.
yeah, I didn't like Pilots. No, the Kraken is cool.
Yes, okay. Kraken might be the best name in
Kraken, that sea monster, that is cool. I'm not a gear guy so much, wearing like team gear and things like that. It's not my bag.
Sure.
I would wear a Kraken shirt.
I would too.
I think the Kraken is massively cool.
Orthodox mascots, across all sports. You got the Kraken, and NHL, you had the Golden Knights a couple years ago. And then the other one I was thinking of, I just lost it, but the Savannah Bananas.
So I was going to say, minor league baseball has all the good ones.
Minor league baseball takes the cake. You have the Toledo Mud Hens, Rocket City Trash Pandas.
I love Trash Pandas.
That's a good one.
Trash Pandas is so good.
Pandas,
There's another one down south I can't think of right now.
Oh, God. I'm
blanking.
Can't remember.
They're so good. There's so many.
Go to any state. You will find good, clever nicknames for minor league baseball teams, and the Bananas are towards the top.
I want to go to a Savannah Bananas game.
Well,
really
you better
bad.
get in line for tickets because it's going to be like 4 years before you can get some.
It's a thing, man. It's a happening.
Now they got clips online, guys doing backflips, catching fly balls.
It's craziness. I mean, they were bringing like baseball, an old school baseball player, a guy named Bill Lee, who pitched back in the 70s, had been coming out pitching in games. He's like 70-some years old.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's the thing is you never know who they're going to bring out, like to bat or throw or whatever it may be. It's an entertainment extravaganza in the form of a baseball game. I mean, the Harlem Globetrotters are baseball, essentially.
No offense, the baseball game's secondary. Most people go to these games. Who won? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but some dude did a backflip and caught a ball in center field. I don't know who won.
Hitting balls with flaming bats.
So
very
funny.
cool.
1975, Frank Robinson becomes the first black manager in the majors, debuts as a player manager for the Cleveland Indians. Robinson hit a home run in his first at bat as a DH. Indians beat the Yankees 5-3. Also, there's a great story, and I can't remember all the particulars, but Frank Robinson is a manager. They sent a guy to the minors. They cut a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And so that pitcher surfaces again in the majors. I don't know if it was later that year or the next year, and he hits Robinson. Now, Robinson's 39, 40 years old, whatever, player manager. Pitcher hits him. Frank goes after him. Frank goes to the mound. Frank was no BS. Frank was a tough dude. I mean, Frank played for the Orioles for a while, and Frank would go spikes high into third base. Frank didn't care. And when that guy hit him, think about your manager going after the pitcher. And that was Frank Robinson.
See, I wish managers would still get involved with fights these days.
How good would it be? Could you see Snit?
Probably not Snit.
Yeah, Snit wouldn't.
I think he's a little reserved.
I don't think so. Plus, Snit's old. Snit's not a young man.
Don Mattingly, though?
Before the back injury, maybe, yeah.
Sure.
Orioles have Brandon Hyde, who's a big dude. He's probably in his 40s.
Craig Counts has got those crazy eyes.
Yeah, he's a kind. Yeah, you don't want to mess with crazy dudes.
Yeah. He might pick up a bat and start swinging it again.
Yeah, Counsell might get nuts. You don't know what he could do. So, 1975, Frank Robinson debuts as the first black manager in the history of the majors. And the last one, Tiger Woods. Got to get to this one. This is craziness, too. Tiger Woods in 2001 wins the Masters, giving him the sweep of the 4 professional majors. It was a Tiger Slam. 294 days, won 4 majors. Matter of fact, when Tiger was at his height of power, I think the stat was he was winning 1 of every 3 golf tournaments. That is vile.
That's one thing that, because I was aware of him as a kid and what he was doing, but I didn't grasp it truly because, I was 10 or 11 years old when he was, coming to the end of his original dominance and before all the controversy started. But as I've gotten older and seeing him getting back ingrained in the sport of golf, I wish I could have experienced that first run with the consciousness of what golf is and to be able to truly appreciate it.
The thing about him is, golfers are like gentlemen, right? It's a gentlemanly sport. They're all nice to each other and shake hands. And Tiger took the mentality of a football player. Tiger was there to rip your heart out and destroy you.
He's the ultimate competitor.
He wasn't there to be your buddy.
Stomp on your faith.
Exactly. He would snap your throat. When Tiger became Tiger, like the Tiger Slam and winning 1 of every 3 tournaments, he walked to the tee box and dudes would soil themselves. I mean, a lot of times he had already won before he even teed up a golf ball. That's what he was at his peak of greatness.
And he took the fitness approach too of, a lot of golf guys were just dudes who just went out there and hit balls and were really good at it, but he took like the analytics side and the special training and all that kind of stuff that really kind of brought golf into the 21st century.
Yeah, Tiger was like, because the joke when I was a kid is you always watch golfers, you tell the golfers they had man boobs.
Yeah.
They were wearing their slacks.
Everybody was John Daly back in the day.
They weren't in the best of shape. They didn't have to be to go hit golf balls, right? Tiger showed up like yoked.
Yeah.
Tiger was there to tear you up physically, mentally. It's just the whole thing. Red on Sundays. I mean, it was a thing. Tiger was something else in his prime. All right, it's the greatest day in the history of the world, brought to you by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We'll come back. We'll get our text of the hour, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, 803-404-6100. We'll keep you up with our buddy Sam Shapiro from WIS as well. It's a halftime show. We roll till 3 here on the game. All right, time for our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
I knew when we started mentioning minor league baseball team names, we'd get some play on this. A couple people weighing in. Gamecock Don with the Macon Bacon. Can't believe I left that one out.
That's a good one.
Matt, now this isn't. This is technically a summer baseball or a summer collegiate team, not minor league, but the Carolina Disco Turkeys out of Winston-Salem.
The
Disco
Turkeys.
That's a good one.
I like it.
I was scrolling through a list of best minor league team names. I'd forgotten about some of these. The Akron Rubber Ducks. Obviously, a lot of rubber produced in Akron. Makes a lot of sense. Birmingham Rumble Ponies.
That's a great
one. I like that one. I don't remember hearing that one. That's a good one.
Rocket City Trash Pan Dessert #1, by the way.
I love Trash Pans.
I actually know somebody that calls games for the Montgomery Biscuits.
It's good.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp as well.
Oh, good one.
Elmira had a hockey team, the Elmira River Sharks.
I like River
I like
Shark.
that.
That's good, too.
I've never seen a shark in a river, but sure.
Oh.
Me neither. That's why it stuck out to me.
Yeah. In Baltimore, those were just dead bodies.
Well,
really sharks. They were.
That's why they put. That's why the Wire was set in Baltimore.
Exactly. He was floating around the harbor. Is that a shark? Oh no, it's not. It's wearing a suit. All right. Sam Shapiro from WIS-TV. How in God's name did you end up in South Carolina?
Well, I knew my goal since high school has been to sit at a desk and read sports where there's palm trees. So now I got the palm trees.
I told him those are palmetto trees. Got to get that right so people don't get mad at them. I made the same mistake when I moved here. It's okay.
Yeah, there you go. It's like there's certain things you need to learn. Like it's the USC is not across the country. USC is right here.
Yep.
Across the country, it's Southern Cal.
We've all made that mistake.
And it's not. And Carolina is not North. North Carolina is North Carolina. This is Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
We all made those mistakes when we first got here.
And there's
the
palmetto trees and the palmetto bugs. They're not cockroaches.
No, those are cockroaches, dude.
Oh, okay.
Those things are vile.
Yeah.
That one people won't fight you on as much.
No, those things are vile. They're like I don't know. They're on steroids. They fly. They're just. I've never encountered a bug like that in my life. First time I saw one, I stepped on it and it grabbed my foot and threw me. Those things are like crazy.
They're absolute
like
units.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It takes you you have to beat them for 5 minutes to kill them.
Well, normal cockroaches are impossible to kill.
Yeah.
They're like cockroaches on steroids.
Just these things are and they fly. That's what got me when they took off and flew. I'm like, a flying cockroach? What is this? What is this? So yeah, those things they're disgusting. Doesn't matter.
They're definitely built different.
Well, I tell you, I saw a stand-up comedian a few weeks ago. I was back north, and he had done a gig in Florida, and he was saying he's in the hotel room, and he looks down, he sees this insect, and he sees a bug, and it's a pretty big bug, and he goes to kill it, and it starts flying at him, and it started chasing him around the room, and he goes to the bar, and goes, "Oh man, that's a palmetto bug."
Oh my gosh.
So good to have you here, man. Come in here and you can yip with us. Come anytime. Come on in and talk some sports because obviously that scratches your itch.
Just a little bit.
There you go. So very cool. Now that you've gone through a women's basketball season, did you go through a football season too?
Not yet. Well, I kind of caught the tail end of it a little bit. I got here kind of around towards the end of October, but I'm really looking forward to the start of next year. I didn't get to watch much of Spencer Rattler as I'd like to.
It was much better than the end of year one was really good. The Tennessee and Clemson game were fantastic, and then year two Rattler was much more consistent. So yeah, it's too bad you didn't get to see the Tennessee game. Rattler was unbelievable. He was phenomenal. But you got the surprising season of Lamont Paris, the men's basketball team. Year one was tough, but year two was, to me, you could make a case he was National Coach of the Year. What Paris did.
Yeah, that team hadn't seen success like that since last time they'd made a Final Four run like that.
Yep.
So it was exciting to be in the heart of not just a women's juggernaut, but also this men's program coming up on the come up as well.
And it was one of those things we were sitting here going to the year, man, if they could just finish 500 in the league, that would be great, right. And all of a sudden they almost won the league. It was very unexpected, but a lot of fun watching Lamont Paris' squad in year two.
Yeah, I was unfortunate. They couldn't really get past Connect a little bit. He was kind of a little bit of a roadblock for them, but
got him the first time.
Yeah, got him intended, but it was interesting. You beat him in Knoxville, and then that game here, you got behind, and you kept going, grinding. He made a 3-point game at the end. Connect is a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a top 15
He's a
pick in the NBA draft. I mean, you saw him in that loss to Purdue, and what he did, he finally ran out of gas because he was asked to take every shot because everybody else with the Volunteers treated the ball like a hand grenade.
Right.
But you watch him, and yeah, his name is going to get called in probably the top 15, 20 picks in the NBA draft. He's whew.
What team would you guys like to see him? What team would you guys like to see him play for? Because I mean, like you said, he's.
Jeez, I don't know. There's a lot of places he would be interested. I tell you, go off the top of my head in the NBA, anywhere but Charlotte. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see the poor guy end up in Charlotte.
They end up becoming, on the back of milk cartons lost. What happened to Dalton Kennett?
Oh, that's right. He went to Charlotte where careers go to die. Yeah, I think, again, I don't know what kind of player once he gets to the league, because what you are in college, if you don't grind to get better, you're not going to be a good pro, because the pro game, it's just, I mean, if you show up thinking what you did in college is going to carry you in the NBA, you have a short life in the NBA. So if he works on some of the stuff, his handle could get better. He's shooting about 40% from three. That's good. If he could, he attacks the basket pretty well. Just more consistency and a better handle, and he should be a really good pro.
I'd like to see him on like a Brooklyn type of team that really could use one clear-cut, scorer, somebody that likes to get to the basket, likes to kind of create their own, their own shots.
It's really weird. Brooklyn cratered this year. They just cratered. They were a middle-of-the-pack playoff team last year, and this year they just cratered.
Mm-hmm.
So a place like that where you can be developed into one of the top options, that would be nice. They get the coaching thing cleaned up in Brooklyn because that's kind of became a mess. Well, you hired Steve Nash because that's what the superstars wanted. That was your big mistake. All right, thanks for stopping in here, Sam Shapiro. We'll bring you in in the future. Remember, get food. When you go do these things at restaurants, get food. Good deal.
It's called Southern Hospitality.
Yes.
You'll learn about it.
All right, right now our buddy Elijah Campbell is at the big celebration at CLA. He'll come back and join Jay at 3 o'clock as we continue our celebration of a national championship. Number 3 for Dawn Staley and the Gamecock women. Talking about it all day here on your home of the Gamecocks, by the way. The Game.